I can go first. I kind of describe myself as a minimalist, like over 20 years since I left kind of that orderly environment. That kind of resonates. Like there's other layers. So I'm just kind of curious on delving a little deeper and kind of returning to those roots.
Yeah. Hey, Trish.
Hey, I know that I am very much an out of sight, out of mind person, but I know I have always been a collector. There is something kind of feeling safe in your possessions and what you're surrounded with. And admittedly, there's also a little bit that started out with, hey, I've achieved something. Look what I have. Very much that superficial putting out an image to others. So, as I look around my house, I am out of surface spaces. I have overfilled to capacity, and I need to deal.
And how would it feel, Trish? How would it feel to be free from the clutter?
It would be such a physical relief to feel like I could breathe. I did start with my office as promised, but everywhere else is kind of a matter of I am just constantly spinning. And quite frankly, if God forbid something happened to me and someone had to come into my house either to rescue or just, I won the lottery and I'm on vacation, I need someone to come in and take care of the cat, I would be very embarrassed and ashamed. So what started out as putting out a good image has now completely flipped on me. So that that fuck it phase needs to happen a little faster than I've been allowing it to.
I've worked with many people who came to me first for clutter, and then we got into the cluttering part. And so it's very interesting when we start to collect things out of this need and desire to prove our worth, to prove that we are worthy as a human being. But then we collect so much that now it's we don't want to be judged, and so we push people away. So the premise of tonight's meetup is the clutter in your home isn't the problem. It's a symptom of something that's deeper. And today we're going to start to uncover the reasons as to why that might be happening. When I started doing the inner work within myself and healing myself from my traumas of my past, I have felt so free that honestly, I could get rid of most things in my house and be totally okay with it. In fact, I feel like after tonight's call, I'm just going to go and just start getting rid of stuff just because I feel so free within me. Then I feel like I don't need anything excess. And my hope for you is that you achieve that state of feeling as well. So this is not a decluttering class. I'm not going to tell you where to buy baskets. In fact, when clients used to come to me when I would do decluttering, they would say, "What should I buy beforehand?" And I say, "Absolutely nothing, because by the time I'm done with you, you won't need to store a lot of stuff. You'll probably already have enough bins." And it usually worked out that way. Sometimes if we wanted to swap some bins out, then that's different. But the idea was to release, to let go, not to store what you currently have. And a lot of people came at it from a different approach. Maybe you started and now you realize, like, I'm just making the clutter that I have look a little bit nicer, but it's not actually solving my problem. So tonight I'm going to help you realize that your clutter is actually just a mirror. And that's why I'm writing a book, and it's going to be called Clutter Talks. And it's about teaching you what your clutter is telling you about you. So hopefully at least one of you will want to read the book. So what if the mess isn't actually the problem? And I say this, our emotions aren't the problem. They're information, and clutter is information too. And if we look at it as a problem, then we're missing the opportunity. We're missing the opportunity to ask ourselves, okay, what is this actually showing me? What information does this have about me, about my life, about my past or my future, or my fears or my desires? I invite all of you to just zoom out for a minute. And if you can, like, zoom out more often in your life and really ask yourself, what is this showing me about me? And the same can be true about our emotions as well. Sometimes if we're in the depths of like anxiety or depression or overwhelm or stuck in habits that aren't serving us, of course, we have to zoom out and see, okay, what is this showing me? How is this protecting me? Right? If you have a lot of clutter and at the same time you have a fear of judgment, well, the clutter might actually be protecting you from people coming over to your house and possibly judging you. So if your house is so cluttered, now people can't come over. Now you're going to save yourself from being judged. Can you see how that could actually be helping you in some sort of way? Now, when you clear out the fear of judgment, then you have two options. Now you can invite people over and not give a shit about what they say about you and your space, or you can be like, oh, I can actually start letting this stuff go because I don't actually need it. Is there a void that I'm trying to fill? Is there an emotion that I'm trying to go after or seek? And I'm thinking that this thing is going to do it for me. I have a client who came to me because she wanted to stop spending and she thought spending was her problem. And whatever you think your problem is, it's not. And the more you work with me, the problem I thought I had is not actually the problem. Cass helps me get to the root of the problem. And so she needed a way to numb out the stress. And so she would buy stuff, get a quick relief, a moment of relief. And then after the stuff would show up in the mail, and she's like, what the heck is this? And she'd open it and she's like, I don't need this. It was in the moment that she bought the item that gave her that relief. And then when it showed up, she realized she didn't even need it. So I helped people declutter and organize their homes for 10 years. And after 10 years, I realized that this is really just a symptom. This is really just a symptom of something bigger. I thought I was helping people get rid of their stuff, and I was. I was really good at it. I would drive away with my car full of stuff, and I would be amazed every time at just how much stuff would fit in my SUV. So for years, I genuinely thought that I was doing if someone had too much stuff, I would help them get rid of it, and we made their house feel really light, calm, and beautiful, and that worked for a while, and it felt so good to release. But for some people, it never really stuck. But then I realized, like, there's something deeper here. And if you know me, you know that I don't like quick fixes and you know that I don't like surface level stuff. Like I'm a very deep person and I want to help people achieve a state of change that lasts long term. And so then I would realize, okay, why does this clutter keep showing up? And then we would talk personally about their life and their situation. And, I would do TMI because I would literally say TMI, but, and then I would say it anyways. But anyways, we would get into these really great conversations. And it's like, oh, I understand why this keeps happening. And we would be able to move through their own personal stuff during our sessions. We would get rid of the clutter at the same time, but really we're moving through trauma, emotions, resentment, guilt, shame, all stress, all of those things at the same time. So I was like, okay, I need to get to the root. I need to help people get to the root so that clutter, it's really not a problem after that. I mean, the clutter that shows up when you're overwhelmed or life isn't exactly like going the way that you want it to, I call it situational clutter. And right now I have a bit of situational clutter. My kitchen usually takes the hit in times where I'm in integration, where I'm integrating stuff in a chapter. I'm moving through chapters and I don't feel grounded in that moment. And I'm really just making sure that I'm paying attention to my peace in that moment. So other things kind of fall to the wayside. That looks like my kitchen gets overrun with dishes and my laundry as well. That's my zones of situational clutter. And I invite you to ask yourself, pause for a moment and ask yourself, where in my house do I often experience situational clutter? It's in those moments or in those phases of life where life is really just lifing and it's a little too much to hang like keep on top of everything. You might have them some hot spots. For me, like I mentioned, it's laundry and dishes. I know that if the dishes are piling up, I know that I'm processing a lot in my life right now, and I'm just giving myself compassion and grace. There's no need to shame yourself when you have this situational clutter. I mean, you don't have to shame yourself in general, but at least you know that this is temporary. Chronic clutter is a little bit different. That's the clutter that kind of stays and the piles just build and they've been compounding, like compounding interest. Like that would be a little bit better than compounding clutter. But you have the compounding clutter that just builds and builds and builds. And it's like, whew, that's a lot. And like that's some deep stuff right there. That feels like a lot to handle. So honestly, I wouldn't even deal with that at first. I would again zoom out and really start to pay attention. Why did this happen? Like how did this happen? And really just get curious before you even dive in. Start getting curious about Why does this clutter keep showing up? What happened in my life when the clutter started showing up? Have I always been surrounded by clutter in my life? What is clutter protecting me from? Right? If you have a cluttered house and you want to go out and you want to start dating, but somehow, way your house keeps getting cluttered, and then you're like, oh, but I should probably be responsible and stay home and clean my house. And you're equally terrified of getting rejected. So you want to go out and date, but you're terrified. So your house randomly keeps getting cluttered. There's no coincidences. It is very directly correlated. It's protecting you. So you can ask your clutter, like, what are you protecting me from? Why are you showing up? Why are you here? Even if your office desk is constantly cluttered and you've been procrastinating on your business, and every time you show up to do the work at your desk, oh, well, I have to clean my desk first before I can get started. And now all of a sudden you're organizing your office. And well, oh, well, I just can't work on my business today. I mean, it's as clear as day. It's protecting you. So I realized that I was helping people let go of guilt, grief, fear, shame, old identities, old dreams, maybe dreams that were fulfilled and maybe dreams that weren't fulfilled, and old versions of themselves. I worked with a gentleman one time. He was so sweet. He was a single dad and he had two kids with autism. But he had all of this really nice dishware. And I would ask him, what's with all the dishware? Like, if it's really just you most of the time, why do you have so much? And he said that he really hoped to host people at his house one time for a dinner party. He hoped that he would be in a position in his life that people would want to come and dine with him at his home. That's someone's dream. That's their wish and their desire, that he would have a social circle that would want to come and hang out with him at his house. So why would he let that go? Because if he lets that clutter go, then part of him would feel like that dream wouldn't be possible. Could he go and buy new dishes? Absolutely. But that represented a part of him that wasn't being fulfilled. I'm just going to let you sit with that for a minute and then ask yourself, is there anything in my house right now that I'm currently holding on to for a reason that might be similar to that one? Maybe you have books in your house that you really want to read because you want to be the type of person who reads books. But deep down, you know that you just don't read books. Or maybe you have all this exercise equipment because you know that you should exercise. Fuck the shoulds. Like, what's with all these shoulds? Do you know how much stuff people have in their house because of these shoulds? I should be a reader. I should cook these big elaborate meals. I should invite people over for family dinners. I should be someone who camps with my kids. That's why I have all this camping gear, even though I hold on to stuff out of shoulds. I hold on to things just in case I need it. That's fear. You're holding on to things out of fear and also out of scarcity because you are signaling to your brain that if I let this go, it's not safe. And what if I need it in the future? When we hold on to things out of fear, we are signaling to the universe that I don't trust myself. If you have ADHD like myself, the best thing that you can do is call someone. Anytime you want to clean your house or deal with those piles, call someone and say, hey, I need someone to body double with me because I need to clean up my house and I can't do it by myself. So have someone that you can call the body double with. So then ask the part of you, why am I having a hard time letting go? And what you do in one area, you do in other areas. So if you have a hard time letting go in one area, you might be having a hard time letting go in another area. Body doubling is essentially when you're just with another person and it just becomes so much easier to get stuff done. So the clutter, the clutter is never about the clutter. So I wrote that there's two types of clutter, but really seven. One is external clutter. That's the clutter that you can see, the piles, the drawers, the garage that you can't park in. The internal is what you can't see. It's the guilt, the grief, the fear, the identities. It is constantly signaling to yourself that your brain might be saying, but what if I fail and I gain the weight back? What if this isn't sustainable? What if I can't handle it and I go back? Whatever it is, you're continuously signaling to yourself that who you are right now is not good enough, or that you might fail, or that you're not of achieving a certain way of being. It's constantly signaling those things. So if there's anything you do after this call, go and get rid of the clothes that don't fit you. Do you know what it signals to yourself when you let go? It signals to you that you love yourself. Another metaphor, you can trim the branches all day long, but the roots are going to keep growing branches back, right? So you have to deal with the root. Organizing without ever touching what's underneath is honestly a quick fix, but you're doing yourself a disservice. So the iceberg, the external clutter, it's what you can see, but underneath is really where I invite you all to focus your attention. The guilt, the grief, the fear, the shame, identity, old dreams, new dreams, unfulfilled dreams. That's the internal clutter. I promise you that as you deal with the internal clutter, the external clutter literally just naturally goes away. It's so much easier to release it after you've dealt with the internal stuff because you no longer have those fears and attachments to things. That's how we get into the fuck it phase way faster because we're just so detached. Not in a nonchalant, like, I don't care about anything way, but in a way that feels like freedom. You're no longer operating out of fear and scarcity. You genuinely are like, I don't need this. If you have identified as being someone who is a helper or a people pleaser and people come to you to borrow stuff and you really enjoyed the feeling of being able to help people, and now you're like, well, I can't get rid of this because what if someone asks for it and needs it? That's an identity shift that you need. Recently, my son decided to declutter, got rid of this t-shirt. And it was from a specific event that had meaning to our family. I was fine with him getting rid of it because if he doesn't want it, then I don't want him to feel like he needs to keep it for what? Sentimental reasons? We have the memories. But someone had seen that we got rid of this shirt and they felt really upset. The thing is, though, that's their emotions. That's their emotions. And I no longer allow other people's emotions to impact me in a way that it's going to alter the way that I live my life. People don't trigger you, we trigger ourselves. It's the meaning that you're creating about a situation. And the meaning that you're creating about a situation is coming from your past life experiences, and that's a filter that you see your life. So, an identity shift, let's say you're a mom, and now all of a sudden your kids are all grown up and moved out of the house, but you're having a really hard time getting rid of the stuff. It's because your identity has been so wrapped up in motherhood that you feel like if you let go of everything, you experience almost like an identity crisis. Now, if you still maintained your own personal life and you decluttered as you went, it's not such a big thing letting go of their stuff because that was just the natural evolution of moving through motherhood. Kids grow up, they eventually move out, and you move on, and you know that. But if your identity has been locked in and focused solely on being a mother, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Same thing if you were an entrepreneur and then you go into a job. If there's a certain category of items that you're having a hard time letting go of, it's often attached to an old identity that you had.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful that you said that, Lisa, and that takes a lot to say. Because oftentimes people reach a state in their life, one point or another, where they have an identity crisis and they ask themselves a question like, who am I?
it's a hard.
You allow yourself the grace and compassion to sit in the space of the unknown and ask yourself these kind of questions, the answers come to you. Now, of course, working alongside someone who is trained and I can help guide you to get there It can feel very unsettling, but it's also a rebirthing. And it's a really beautiful rebirthing. It's almost like a butterfly. Your home is a mirror. It's a mirror of what's going on. So, do you also have a hard time with boundaries? Do you have a hard time being decisive? Do you have a hard time trusting yourself? So, when we zoom out, our clutter is actually a beautiful mirror of what's going on inside of us. So, one small feeling can become a pile. An emotion, and then you set something down and you say, like, I'll deal with it later. And then the object stays there, and then a habit is formed, and then the external clutter grows. I had a client today, when we were helping her release the emotions, she said it felt like a volcano because all of these emotions were suppressed for so long. She's like, I don't know where these tears are coming from. They're just flowing out of my face. So, what you do in one area, you do in another. Those piles become your habits, the habits become your identity, and then that becomes your life. But the object is holding on to something. Maybe the past, you don't want to forget something in your life. So, you hold on to it, a way to remember. If I'm being really truly honest with myself, will I ever use this? And trust the very first thing that comes to you. If the answer is no, trust that. Because right after that, your fear is going to swoop in and say, another thing that I want to keep in mind is the moment you decide to let go of something, odds are you're probably going to need it again in the future. So just know that that's going to happen. You just need to laugh about it instead of saying, I knew I should have kept it. You trusted yourself in the moment, and you need to reinforce that identity. This says something about who I am. So if you worked for X amount of time and now you no longer work, but you have all those work clothes, it's like, what if I go back to work? Or I don't know who I am without that. Or what if I need these again? So you will get very, very creative when it comes to letting stuff go. That's why when you get to the fuck it phase, as in like, yes or no, do I need this or want it? Yes or no. You accept the first thing that comes to your mind. And then anything after that is just noise. That's just fear. So take a moment and just ask yourself, what is the one thing that I can't let go of? What is the one thing that you can't seem to let go of that you know it's time to go? What is something, anything, even if it's not a physical object, what is something that you know you have to let go of that you can't seem to do it? The need to be an expert. That's your protection mechanism to stay safe. What is it that you're holding on to that you can't let go of? Something I've seen in the majority of the homes that I've gone into. I'm so embarrassed. Please don't judge me. I made a lot of money because people were terrified of being judged by other people. And it breaks my heart to know how many people are actually missing out because of the fear of judgment. And not just missing out in terms of people coming to their house, but in all areas. Putting yourself out there to date, putting yourself out there to speak your truth, to start your business, or to wear the clothes that you want, or show up fully as who you actually are. So many people are terrified of being judged. So shame keeps you stuck, but curiosity creates change. Curiosity is always the doorway. Shame is the lock. The moment you allow yourself permission to have compassion and to get curious and ask yourself, like, what is this showing me about me? That's your pathway to freedom. I am hosting a 7-day declutter challenge. It's $27. We're going to focus on the physical, the emotional, the identity, the situational, the mental, the grief, the future. CassHenry.com/declutter. So every day you will get an audio training from me. It'll be short enough to binge and consume, but powerful enough to activate change. I am a master NLP practitioner, a hypnotherapist. I do timeline therapy, and I've been doing this work for over 10 years. you will get immense value from this challenge. On top of that, I'll be doing 2 live Zoom coaching calls. So bring whatever you have to the table. If it's internal or external clutter, it doesn't matter. Ask whatever questions you have, and I will help you. Tonight, we covered that clutter is usually just a symptom and not a problem. We talked about why shame keeps you stuck and curiosity creates change. Organizing doesn't create lasting change, but understanding yourself does. External and internal clutter is always connected. So if clutter has been costing you your peace, it's too expensive. It's too expensive. I want to thank you all for being here from the bottom of my heart. This is my purpose, this is my passion to show up and serve. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm sending you all so much love and gratitude, and I'll see you next time. Okay.